What is up, everyone? JD here. Hope you're all doing well today. Apologies, I have the fan running in the background, but it is a little hot here in the garage. But it is helping keeping me cool today. Today, we are going to be doing a breakdown of the Sencut Sachse. Sachse? I think it's Sachse. I'm messing it up. I know I am. Somebody please help me out in the comments down below. The reason I wanted to do this today, it did feel a little bit like it was dry. It was running a little bit dry. While it does have good detent and it wants to hold to have a snappy deployment, it does feel like the bearings are a little bit dry. So what are you going to need? You're going to need a good set of bits. I recommend Weeha. I like them a lot. I have the Scout tool driver here today with the 3/4 inch Weeha bits, and I have the Kershaw tool with the, I think this is 3/8 bits. I'm not 100% sure, but I do have the T6 and T8 separate because this is not a captive pivot. So you may need to hold this side down. First thing we're going to do is use the T6 to go ahead and take the pocket clip off. And apologies for those that are already familiar with how to do this and just want to see what the insides look like or what the takedown looks like. I'm doing this for someone that might be looking at this who might have just got this knife for the first time and want to know what tools to get and how to break it down. I know you can't see it, but I have little pockets up here on this mat. I will link this mat as well for you in the description. Very nice little work mat. I picked it up off Amazon. It's silicone, which is good for repelling like oils, dirt, and debris. Make note of what side your clip is on and the fact that you do have one screw longer than the other. Make sure that that screw goes back in on the top because that goes into your barrel spacer. So keep that in mind. My hope is that this side is going to come off. It's actually easier to control the spring with the scale than it is without. So I'm actually going to try to loosen it and see if this pivot is going to hold position with just a little bit of pressure from the finger, and hope that it actually comes loose on the non-show side. Nope, it wants to spin. So we're going to swap out the T6 on the Kershaw tool to a T8. I recommend that you lay this with the blade facing down. Go ahead and secure your position on this side so that it does not move, and then you can go ahead and proceed to unscrew the actual bolt. It is now coming loose freely. I recommend that you keep that tool in there and continue to work it out from this side until you have completely pulled the screw out. Now carefully, because the spring is going to keep pressure on it, keep it sandwiched until you lay it down, and then just keep a little bit of pressure on there, not too much. Now this is a T8 as well on this side, so you do not need to switch your bit out, which does make it nice if you've already moved the clip out of the way. You can actually remove this. This also is one of the advantages to a bearing tool. You can actually put it in place and spin it with a little bit of pressure on there. Now very carefully relieve the pressure until the spring tension is gone, and then you should be able to lift it out, and as you can see, the spring is still in place. This is a nice spring actually. Well, it was in place until it did that. And you can tell there's not much oil going on there. This is a very nice spring. I like this a lot. I always give it a little bit of a tug when I pull them out just to make sure that they stay strong, since I'm here doing the maintenance anyway. Now you just need to wiggle the actual skeleton scale, the skeletonized scale off of the knife. Yeah, it is bone dry, guys. That's the first time I've ever seen a knife like that come bone dry. It does still have the lanyard barrel in there. It's pretty well wedged. I was certain it was going to stay on the other side, and actually I'm probably going to go ahead and just take it out and put it on the non-side, the side that I'm not working on, the show side. So I'm going to put it in there because that side's going to lay flat. Now with everything removed, you actually should be able to just wiggle this right past the button. So you do not have to worry about the button at all. Make note that the closed side of the actual bearings facing out, and the tub side or the open side is actually facing the blade. So keep that in mind. Not a whole lot of oil here, so I would recommend just trying to wipe everything down to make sure there's no dirt and debris on the knife itself. The blade, the bearings and everything, just make sure they're nice and clean, and I'll show you how to go about your lube and what I like to do. I don't like to directly applicate on the bearings. I actually prefer to, I don't think I brought my little tool out here. I actually prefer to, well, I'm gonna hold everything in place and try to get that other bearing to fall out. There we go. I actually prefer to put everything on by hand. I'm going to clean up around here. I'm very surprised that this came so dry. That is going to affect the action. You're going to see that this is going to work really well. I don't really have a preference for oil. Grab your favorite oil and oil as needed. And again, keep in mind the open part of the actual bearings are going to face the blade. So I actually will just put a dab on the bearings, and then once I feel that they're oiled, I'll put a dab on 3 spots like a triangle on the actual skeletonized scale, and I will drop it down back on the bearing. I do not like oil on the lock. I like a little bit of lock stick, because over time that lock stick's going to go away. It's going to wear in, and it's going to get very, very smooth. Now, I do not need any more oil on the blade. I put all of it on the bearing in the skeletonized section. What I do recommend, though, is just a little dab, as tight as you can get in there if you have an applicator. If not, and I probably should have done this first, what you want to do is just make sure you put a little bit of a dab on. It's really hard to see this far away. I think that's it. Just a little dab on there, because what's going to happen as the blade rotates, it's going to work it in itself. Same thing here. Just take a little bit, drop it on there. You do not need much. These ceramic bearings are very smooth in operation, so they're going to function very nicely without a whole lot of lube. They really don't need much lube. The lube is going to create lock stick if you get too much on there and it happens to spin off onto the lock. So that's really well lubed. Now the last thing that you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to take your skeletonized section. I would probably recommend just the same thing. You can see it's starting to make a track. I would probably just do a triangle here as well. That's all the oil that you need. If you have good oil that is not like wet and sloppy and is going to go all over the place, like say WD-40, that's going to be plenty. That's going to be all that you need. So set your skeletonized scale back in. It should fall right back into place. A little bit got on the outside here. I'm not sure why it's on the outside. You don't need that with the micarta. If you had like a brass scale or something like that, I would say yes, put plenty of oil over here. Go ahead and put your spring back in place. You're going to want to maintain the pressure, and you're going to want to try to make sure this is oversized. It's going to actually be a little bit bigger than the spring. It's oversized, so you're just going to want to make sure that you feel that it's locked in there. Go ahead and put your pressure on to get it down. Everything is secure. What I would do at this point, and I'm going to move it so you can see what I'm doing. At this point, I would take your pivot screw and I would get it started. So go ahead and get it to the point where it sits down and prevents the spring from wanting to come back out. Another advantage to this type of tool. Alright, so that as tight as I want to go, it's going to hold enough pressure to keep that spring from coming out. Grab your other T8. Go ahead and get that ready to go. Put it in the hole. This one you can go ahead and tighten just a little bit. What I'd recommend at this point is go ahead and make sure that everything operates nicely, that everything looks centered. So it is favoring the show side just a little bit, and that's probably because the pivot needs to be locked up a little bit more. What I would do is just center it here, and then go ahead on the non-show side and tighten that the rest of the way down. And the reason I say that is because with everything loose, you can have it moving up and down if there's any blade play. What I would do at this point is go ahead and get your other T8, have the knife facing you to where you can see it, and then go ahead and work the non-show side closed and see if the blade moves over. So now it's starting to want to track towards the non-show side, so go ahead and loosen it back up. What you'll want to do at this point is you're going to want to get, and I didn't bring a wedge with me, give me 1 second, let me grab a piece of paper. Couldn't find a piece of paper, so I found a piece of cardboard. What you'll want to do is check your wedge. So this right here should be enough. So hopefully I'll zoom in there so that you can see it, so that you can still operate hands-free. Slide it up so that it's a little tight. And then what you'll do is you'll want to, again, take your T8, lock it in on the show side, and then go ahead and tighten down your non-show side screw. You don't want to over tighten, just get it to where it feels pretty secure in there. Check your action. So we're still off centered, so we're gonna have to loosen the body screws. But man, did it improve the action. All right, so last run at this. Let's go ahead and loosen the button lock side. Yep, there we go. Took a little bit of loosening on this side and tightening on the show side to get it to be centered. At least I think it's centered, or am I holding it loosely? No, it's centered. That is definitely 100% centered. So I ended up having to loosen this side. I had tightened this too far in and this was too far away from the scale, and that actually did the trick. So let's go ahead and swap back to our T6 and move our piece of cardboard out of the way and go ahead and reinstall the pocket clip. I think I'm going to order the Banter pocket clip for this one. I can see this being a long-term knife. Let's get everything back together. Check the action one more time. Ooh, that one did not want to sit. There we go. And these, don't over tighten these guys. I see people like wrenching down on them. You can wrench down on this one because it's going into a barrel spacer, but this one is just threaded into the skeletonized scale. So just a little bit past like hand loose is going to be all that you need for that pocket clip. We are still centered and the action is dramatically improved. Good detent. Oh yeah, that is so much better. Let's see if we can fail it. Almost makes it all the way. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I think as that track breaks in, pay attention for that long-term review, guys, but I think as that track breaks in, this is just going to be even better. So if you enjoyed the video, if it helped you, do me a favor, leave a like. Consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to turn on that notification so you get alerts whenever future videos drop. Thank you for all the support. I appreciate you tuning in today. I hope all of you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.